So hello friends, welcome to BISP Solution. So let's continue our session on Oracle Fusion Financial Application. So yesterday we have seen how to make invoice from EDFDI sheet that we have completed. We have seen creation of standard invoice. We have seen the how to process the payment. ADFDI invoice also we have seen. Now today we'll see credit memo and debit memo, and we'll see why do we perform credit and debit memo. So let's start. So first of all, I'll start the session with the credit memo. Okay, so first of all, what are these memos? So in Oracle Fusion Finance, credit and debit memos are essential tools used for adjusting invoices. So let's explain me in detail. So first of all, I will explain the credit demo. Okay, so in credit memo, a credit memo is issued to reduce the amount of an invoice. Okay, so we usually make for the when we reduce the amount of invoice. Okay, so when we reduce the amount of invoice, we do the credit memo, and when we do the debit memo, when we increase the amount of invoice. Okay friends, so this is credit memo and this is debit memo. So let's take the example of credit memo. So let's take the example. Okay, so this could happen. Let me take the reason. Okay, so reason could be for the credit memo, reason could be like you are product return. Okay, product return, or you can say overbilling and we can say or we have granted or we have granted we can say or we have granted a discount after the invoice. Okay, so in this case we use the credit memo. So now let's see the reason of debit memo. So debit memo is used to increase the amount of an invoice. This often due to underbilling or additional charges that needed to be added after the original invoice was sent. Okay, so let's see the example of credit memo and debit memo. Okay, so the example of credit memo, example, let's say you issued an invoice to a customer of $1,000. Okay, $1,000. Okay, later the customer returns goods. Later he returns the goods worth rupees 200. Okay, okay, so okay, so $200. So we have to reduce the invoice amount to 800. So what we will do, we'll reduce the amount, just reduce the amount, reduce the invoice amount to 800. Okay, this we are going to perform. Okay, so this is our credit memo. In debit memo, what happened? In debit memo example, let's say suppose you issued an invoice for $1,000. Okay, but forgot to include but forgot to include let's say 150 $150 $150, okay, for additional services. So what we are going to do, we'll add for additional services. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll prepare a debit memo, we'll increase 150. Okay, so let's see in the instance. So this is the credit memo and this is debit memo, and we have seen the example. Okay, this is debit memo. Now let's move to our instance and let's see how to create debit memo and credit memo. So we'll create any memo. We can create any memo. So first I'm creating debit memo. So go to navigator, payables, and go to invoice, and I'm creating this standard invoice. Click on create invoice. Okay, so search the supplier. Okay, so our supply number is 14687. So we'll start 4 times 7s. Okay, this is our invoice number, and suppose we have $1,000. Okay, so one thing we have to remember, when we are making credit memo and debit memo, the payment term should be immediate pay terms. Okay, we cannot select any other pay terms. Say we have created so many pay terms, but when we are creating debit and credit memo, we should have only immediate payment term. Okay, so now create lines. Suppose this item belongs to 1000 of rent. Okay, rent. Okay, so now I'll validate. Okay, validated. So we are making credit, first we are making debit memo. The invoice number is okay 4 times 7, and we have paid 1000. Paid $1,000 as a rent. Okay, now go to instance. We have validated. So 7 kilos. Okay, okay, so let's 7 kilos. Okay, remember friends, we have not done any payment. Okay, so now we are creating the credit memo. Create invoice. Okay, BISP, and the number is 4 times 3 times 7 and 1. Let's say similar to that invoice 7778. Okay, now see, this is the type of standard, so we will not select standard. What you are creating debit memo or credit memo. Click on credit memo. Okay, or first you can see the debit memo or credit, any you can choose. Okay, I'm taking a debit memo. Okay, now here in the lines you see match invoice lines. No, we are not matching, we are correcting the unmatched voice. Okay, so click on go to icon. Okay, 200. Okay, so we have to enter a negative number when we are creating a debit or credit memo, so minus 200. Okay, so now click on this correct unmatched invoices. And here I'll search my invoice. My previous invoice number is 4 times 7. Click on search and we'll enter the amount. Okay, apply. Okay, okay, so this is 200. So let's validate it. It's validated. So now what we are going to do, and we'll pay the amount. So what we'll do, we'll click on save and close. Okay, go to navigator. Now we'll pay for it. Okay, go to payments, task list, and go to create payment. Search for the supplier, that is BISP. The record discount service does not accept immediate pay. We do not give any discount. Okay, so it is showing this notification. So which bank? Select the bank. We have already made the bank, that is BISP. So click on BISP. Payment process profile, BISP. So the document number, payment document would be BISP check we have made. BISP check. So now this option has enabled. Okay, you see earlier it was not enabled, now it is enabled. As I have selected the BISP check, it was enabled. So now I'll select the invoice. Both the invoice I have to select because I'm paying. So one is 777 and 4 times 7 and 7778. Okay, apply. Okay, so you see earlier it was of $1,000 and now the reduced amount now 800. Got it, friend? This is how we can pay. Okay, friends, save and close. So the payment number this for 800 USD has been created. Got it, friends? Now in the same way we will see the credit memo. Okay, so we have created a debit memo. Okay, and now we will create the credit memo. Okay, so this time we'll take the invoice number as 4 times 8, and we'll Okay, so now let's create the credit memo. Go to navigator, create on invoices, task list, create invoice. Okay, select the supplier. So this time the invoice number would be 4 times 8. Okay, this is a standard invoice, an invoice of 1000. Okay, so in through debit memo the real amount was reduced to 800, and credit memo, I'll see from the example. Okay, so this is a standard invoice. Now lines, let's say this is 1000 of, let's take the example rent once again. Okay, because already we made the distribution set for rent, so that is why I'm taking the example of rent again and again. Okay, now every information is filled. Okay, so now just validate it. Okay, continue. Okay, we take 2000. Okay, so we'll keep the line. So we have, let's click on validate. Okay, it's validated. So invoice number 8888. Okay friends, so now save and close. So now we'll make the payment for invoice number 8888. Go to navigator, go to payables and click on invoices, and this time we are making the credit memo. Okay, so this time so the number would be 888889. The supplier is BISP. Okay, supplier side is already selected. Now see, you have to change the type because it's a credit memo. Okay, okay, set for immediate payment. So we have immediate payment. Click on OK. Okay, now change this option, match invoice lines. No, correct unmatched invoice. So we'll correcting the unmatched invoice. Click on this go to icon. Okay, so let's say minus $200. Okay, 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 search the invoice. Okay, the correction of apply. Okay, so minus 200 for the credit memo. Okay, now validate it. It's validated. Now we'll make the payment for this item. Save and close. Now go to navigation, click on payables, payments, click on task list and create payment. So suppose the party is BISP. Okay, so the record discount service does not exist. Okay, click on BISP, select the payment process profile, okay, you see now it is gray out. Okay, as I select this, it has come. So now I'll select the invoice. So I have two invoices, 8888, 8899. Apply. Okay. Okay. So see, we have 2000 earlier. We have amount, and you see $200. So now the amount became the 1800. Got it, friends? So this is how we can make the payment for credit and debit memo. Now suppose there is a scenario that all together you have to pay. Now what we are going to do, let's create another invoice, standard invoice, and we'll make both the debit memo and credit memo at the same time. So save and close. Okay, so now we are making standard invoice where we can pay both debit and credit memo at the same time. Sometime it happens. Okay, so let's create. Go to standard invoice, payables, go to invoices, create invoice and select the supplier. Okay, so suppose the number would be 93101. Okay, and this time we are taking the $10,000. Okay, click on the line and say the amount is 10,000 for distribution rent. See, we have three distribution that we made earlier. So how to make this distribution set, please refer my previous video. Okay, rent, expense and laptop. So for now, okay, let me take expense. Okay, so let's say how you want to spend this 10,000. Okay, you can create the items. Okay, so let's say 6,000 for this distribution set. Okay, this is for domestic accommodation. Okay, and 2,000 will go as a 2000 will go as a different line. Okay, so total 10,000. Okay, so this is internet expense, so this 2000 will go for the internet expense, and this 2000 will go for the domestic taxi. Okay, this will internet, this will go for, this 2000 will go for the internet expense, this 2000 will go for the domestic expense, and this 6000 will go as the domestic accommodation. Got it, friends? Okay, so now save and close. Got it? So we have validated. Let's validate the invoice. Invoice is validated. So the number is 9001. So invoice number 9001. Okay, so now both together, debit memo and credit memo. So now I'll create the invoice as a debit memo, BISP. So number is 9. This number we have given 9001 9002. This is a debit memo. So the amount would be 2000, or we can say 1500. Okay. Okay. Correct unmatched invoices. Okay, negative value we have to input, so minus 1500. Okay, so sometime it gives error like this only. We have already given oh, so let's use a credit memo. Okay, so we have already entered an active. So 9002. Debit memo minus 1500. Correct unmatched invoices. Don't show. Okay, okay. So for which invoice we are making? Against which invoice? So the invoice number is 9001. So this is debit memo we are doing. Okay, so such $1,500. Okay, apply. Okay, don't give once again. Apply. Okay, Once we don't select, it gives the error. Once again I have to create the debit memo. 9002 BISP it's not standard, it's a debit memo. Okay, minus 1500. Okay, so it's a debit memo. Go for the correct unmatched invoice. Type the same amount. First of all, search our invoice. Okay, type minus 1500. Apply. Okay, so we have created a debit memo. Okay, invoice and validate it. So we have validated. Okay, so now we have created debit memo. With 9002, and now we'll create credit memo with 9003. Okay, so go to instance, save and create next. Okay, BISP standard, we are creating credit memo. Number would be 9003 and minus we can say 1000. Okay, I'll see the difference. Okay, now we'll go to correct unmatched invoice. So 1000 and debit memo equals to 1500. We'll see the difference. Okay, minus 1000. So we'll select our standard invoice, that is 9001. Search. No, minus 1000. Okay, apply. Okay, so we have created both debit memo and credit memo, and now we are going to make the payment together for this debit and credit memo. Okay, validate it, don't forget to validate. Okay, so it's validated. Save and close. And now I'll go for the payment. So go for the navigator and payables. Under payables, payments tab. Okay, now go to task list, create payment, search for the supplier. Suppose our supplier is BISP. Okay, search for the disperse and which bank it is going to disperse. Okay, payment method and payment process profile would be this, and the document would be check. Got it, friends? And this is the document number. Okay, now select our standard as well as debit and credit. So this is our standard invoice, this is our debit, this is our credit memo. Okay, so this is our credit memo, this is our debit memo. Apply. Okay, so now see the payment. See, in the debit memo minus 1500. Okay, so the credit memo minus 1000. So the total amount would be 7500. Got it, friends? So this is how we do the payment for credit and debit memo. Okay, so now, so if you want to make the payment, you can make the payment in full also from the invoice action. Okay, so, and our next topic would be payment process templates. Templates and profile. So this we'll do in our next session. So in this session, in that session, what I'm going to explain is how to make the payment in the invoice group, pay group. Okay, so thank you so much for joining today's webinar. Let's meet on the next day.